is my WWE Money in the Bank 2010 pay-per-view review. The pay-per-view just went off there. I gotta say, for this pay-per-view, it was actually a pretty good pay-per-view outing from WWE. I'm not gonna really put it in the category that it's a must-buy pay-per-view or I would highly recommend it, but I would say it was a pretty enjoyable show from WWE. I would give it, 7 out of 10 overall. It was pretty enjoyable stuff on this. The 2 Money in the Bank matches, which are mainly what this pay-per-view is based on. If those 2 matches deliver, it's overall a pretty good show. And both the Money in the Bank matches were pretty good, and the Smackdown heavyweight title match was good. And the Cena and Sheamus match, I would say, was decent at best, not that special at all. Had a really slow beginning, and then it ended okay, I would say. The first matchup was Kofi Kingston versus Dolph Ziggler versus Christian versus Dashing Cody Rhodes versus Matt Hardy versus Drew McIntyre versus Kane versus Big Show in the SmackDown Money in the Bank match. And this SmackDown Money in the Bank match was a whole lot better than I was expecting. And actually, this match got a lot of time. I would say it probably got at least close to 25 minutes, or at least it felt like it got at least 25 minutes. You saw some good stuff with Christian and Kofi in here. Dolph Ziggler even did some good stuff in. Big Show, for his role in this match, he did okay in here. And definitely had, I wouldn't say a surprising finish, but the finish of the match was pretty good because they made it seem like that Drew McIntyre was going to be the one to come in there and grab the Money in the Bank and win the match. Because at the end of the match, you saw the best spot in this match was Kofi Kingston. He did his boom drop, leg drop through a table outside the ring from a ladder to Drew McIntyre. And Drew McIntyre was out after that until the end of the match, where you saw he was crawling into the ring, getting up the ladder. Kane was on the ladder. Kane pretty much chokeslammed a couple people, and he was about to grab it. Drew McIntyre got up there, and they chokeslammed Drew McIntyre, and Kane wins the SmackDown Money in the Bank, which, with his character, they are doing a pretty good job of building Kane's character back up and actually making him seem like the monster heel that he should be. So I'm glad they're kind of starting to build Kane's character back up. And if they keep doing it pretty good, I won't mind him as a main eventer. He's not that great in the ring, obviously, but if they build his character up enough and make you interested in the character and all that, it would make him an okay World Heavyweight Champion, because later on in the evening, he did cash in the Money in the Bank after the Rey Mysterio and Jack Swagger match, and I'll give my thoughts on that at that point. This match, I would give it 3.5 stars. Very good Money in the Bank match, and a whole lot better Money in the Bank match for the SmackDown side than I actually thought it would be. Then the next matchup was Eve versus Alicia Fox for the Divas Championship. A match no one cared about. It wasn't as sloppy as what I was expecting, but that's really not expecting much. It was just your typical WWE match, nothing much to talk about. Alicia Fox retains the championship in a 1-star match. That's basically all I can say about it. A match, really the only bad matches on this pay-per-view were, like expected, the 2 women's matches. Everything else was pretty good on this pay-per-view, and not in the category of anything bad. The next matchup was for the Unified Tag Team Championship. This was the Usos versus the Hart Dynasty. And I kind of wish that they maybe would have got a little more time in here, but it was pretty, fun tag match. Good back and forth action between both teams. It definitely looked like the Usos were going to pick up the victory, but then at the end of the match, you see Tyson Kidd, he had the sharpshooter put in on Jimmy Uso. He taps out, so the Hart Dynasty retain the Unified Tag Team Championships. And a pretty, fun tag match. Possibly could have been given a little more time. But other than that, it was a pretty fun tag match, 2 and 1/4 stars. Then the next matchup was Rey Mysterio versus Jack Swagger for the World Heavyweight Championship. And you saw some good back and forth action with this match. Kind of enjoyed this match. Now, you could tell within this match with, Swagger starting to use the ankle lock. Now, they did a number of spots in this match that was very reminiscent of the Rey Mysterio versus Kurt Angle match at SummerSlam 2002. That was a great match, and they were kind of trying to do some things in that match. And then, you saw some good back and forth action with these two, and pretty entertaining match. It wasn't anything spectacular, but I would say it was overall a pretty solid match. And Rey Mysterio retains the championship. Then, like I said earlier, after he retains the championship, which that match with Jack Swagger versus Rey Mysterio. I would give it, 3 1/4 stars. It's a pretty solid match. Nothing anything spectacular, but a pretty good overall match. Then after the match, you see Kane come out there. He attacks Jack Swagger. He chases Jack Swagger to the back, attacks him. Then, it's looking like this is the end of it. Kane's not going to cash it in because they kind of teased it pretty good there. And then after Rey was about to get up, Kane's music hit. Kane came out there. He hit the choke slam on Rey Mysterio. Then he hit the tombstone to win the championship. So Kane, for his second time in his career, is a world heavyweight champion. And don't have no problem with this. I mean, sure, I would have much rather preferred in the SmackDown Money in the Bank match to see someone like Christian win the Money in the Bank. But considering the way they've been building up Kane, it was not really a shocker at him winning the Money in the Bank. You knew it was either going to be him or Drew McIntyre. At least most people thought that. I don't have a problem with it. Obviously, since Kane's now the World Heavyweight Champion, it seems like Undertaker is possibly going to be back before SummerSlam. That's still up in the air at this point. So if Taker's able to come back before SummerSlam, they'll do an Undertaker versus Kane match for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam. We've seen it before, but maybe with Kane's character now kind of built up into what it should be, maybe they could actually do a whole lot better job than what they did at WrestleMania 20, because that was just god-awful, but that was kind of after, Kane kind of lost his, monster-type heel thing, and after the whole Shane and Kane thing, he kind of went downhill, and maybe, with them building him up, they could possibly do something with him, but don't expect Kane to have the title for too long. Then the next matchup was, Kelly versus Layla for the Women's Championship. Just like the other women's match, not that good at all. Layla retains the title, 1-star match. That's all I can really say about that. Then the next matchup was the Raw Money in the Bank match. In this match, you had Randy Orton, The Miz, Mark Henry, Ted DiBiase, John Morrison, Chris Jericho, Evan Bourne, and Edge. And this was another good Money in the Bank match, just like the SmackDown one. The only problem I had with this match was that this should have been given a little more time. Like, the SmackDown match got a lot of time. They really dragged that out, and they really did a good job with the SmackDown one. And I think the Raw one was very good as well, but I think the one thing that kind of hurts it a little bit is that it should have been given a little more time. And, both Money in the Bank matches, when Kane won in at the end of this, kind of both times were kind of anticlimactic. They could have had, a more, shocking ending or something. It was like, not that it was very anticlimactic, both endings for the Money in the Bank match, but you saw a lot of good things in this match. Evan Bourne, like expected in a ladder match, did a lot of great stuff. Really enjoyed him in this match. A really sweet spot with Randy Orton in this match where Jericho's on the ladder and Orton pretty much jumped up, grabbed Chris Jericho and hit the RKO. That was a very beautiful spot. And then at the end of it, it looked like Randy Orton was going to win it because right at the end, that's when he did the thing to Chris Jericho, the RKO. Then he threw Edge off the ladder because Edge was on the other side of the ladder that Jericho was on. Then it looked like he was going to be the one going up there. Then The Miz is the one to actually win the Raw Money in the Bank, which I'm very glad they did that, because the one thing I said about this pay-per-view, especially the Raw Money in the Bank match, was I'm hoping they give it to someone that hasn't been a former World Heavyweight Champion. I said, someone like an Evan Bourne, a John Morrison, or The Miz, and thankfully they did give it to The Miz. And I think Miz could do a lot of good stuff as with the Money in the Bank, having the Money in the Bank. They could possibly, with him, bragging about that he's going to be the next World Heavyweight Champion and stuff. I would actually keep that Money in the Bank on him for a little while. I'd actually probably wait to maybe even Survivor Series, or maybe even longer than that, for him to actually cash it in, because I think he could do a lot of good stuff with, the Money in the Bank briefcase and stuff like that. They could have him tease it a number of times before then, but actually wait a couple months until he actually cashes it in. And the Raw Money in the Bank, I would probably give it, 3.5 stars, maybe even 3 3/4 stars. Really, the only problem I had with this match was that it should have been given more time. I thought it got cut too short. That was really the only problem I had with that Money in the Bank. Both Money in the Bank matches were pretty good. Then the next matchup was the World Heavyweight title match, not the World Heavyweight title match, but the WWE title match and the Steel Cage match with John Cena versus Sheamus. And at the beginning of this match, and more or less half this match, was really slow, really boring, slow and methodical. It wasn't really entertaining. It started picking up about halfway into it. Then towards the end, it started, turning into a pretty solid, decent match. And obviously, you knew the Nexus guys were going to play some role in the outcome of this match. They did. They came out towards the end of this match. They came out there. They were trying to get into the cage. One of the referees, they tried to get the key from him to open the door. The referee threw the key out there. Then while the referee inside the cage got knocked down, and Cena put the STFU and Sheamus, obviously with the referee knocked down inside the cage and the referee outside, distracted from the Nexus guys. Obviously, neither referee saw Sheamus tapping out right there. Then the end of the match comes when you see John Cena at the top of one side of the cage. He's trying to climb out. You see Justin Gabriel. He comes up there battling with John Cena at the top of the cage. Cena throws him. Then Cena's trying to go down the cage. The Nexus guys are climbing that side of the cage. You see him trying to kick them off so he can get down the cage. Then the other side, you see Heath Slater attacking Sheamus. And then eventually Sheamus gets down and retains the championship, runs into the crowd so the Nexus guys cannot get towards him. And then the Nexus guys, at the end of the pay-per-view, you see Sheamus, not Sheamus, but John Cena pretty much attack the Nexus guys, and a couple of them are laid out, and that's the end of the pay-per-view right there. So Sheamus retains the title. So maybe they'll probably, do a Sheamus and John Cena match at the next pay-per-view, since the way this match kind of ended, and then have John Cena, win the title back at the big pay-per-view, the SummerSlam pay-per-view. And this match, towards the middle of the match and towards the end, it started picking up, started being a pretty decent, solid match. But the beginning was a little too slow for me, so that kind of hurt the quality of the match. I would give it, maybe 2.5, maybe 2 3/4 stars. Wasn't really that great of a main event. It's something like you would expect almost a main event or a Raw match. It didn't feel like a match you thought was worthy of being at a pay-per-view. I wasn't expecting, an excellent match from Sheamus and John Cena, but I was expecting a little more than what we actually got in this match. As far as the pay-per-view, I give this pay-per-view a 7 out of 10 because the 2 Money in the Bank matches were very good. The Swagger and Mysterio match was pretty good. And really the only thing bad on this pay-per-view, or anything that you could put in a terrible quality, are the 2 women's matches. And I think going into this pay-per-view, most people knew neither women's match was going to really deliver anything. So overall, it's a pretty entertaining show. Would I recommend it and say it's a must-buy? No, but I would say if you do check it out, check out the 2 Money in the Bank matches, because you see the Smackdown one was actually a whole lot better than I was expecting. I actually didn't expect it to be as good as what it was. And, the stuff that was in the Raw one, you need to see the stuff Evan Bourne did in there, the great RKO that Randy Orton did to Jericho in that match, and just a few other spots in that match as well that was pretty good. So, like I say, give this pay-per-view a 7 out of 10. Not highly recommend it, but it had some good stuff on it. And it's one of those pay-per-views that's kind of in the middle. It's not a great pay-per-view, not a bad pay-per-view. It's kind of an average pay-per-view pretty much, but it was one of those average pay-per-views from WWE that didn't feel like a throwaway pay-per-view. It felt actually like a pretty enjoyable show. And like I said, with the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, since the pay-per-view is pretty much, banking on the 2 Money in the Bank matches, and it's really, if those 2 matches deliver, it's a pretty fun show. And both of those matches did deliver. So that's it for my WWE Money in the Bank 2010 pay-per-view review. Peace. 7 out of 10 overall. It was pretty enjoyable stuff on this. The 2 Money in the Bank matches, which are mainly what this pay-per-view is based on. If those 2 matches deliver, it's overall a pretty good show. And both the Money in the Bank matches were pretty good. And the SmackDown heavyweight title match was good. And the Cena and Sheamus match, I would say, was decent at best. Not that special at all. Had a really slow beginning, and then it ended okay, I would say. The first matchup was Kofi Kingston versus Dolph Ziggler versus Christian versus Dashing Cody Rhodes versus Matt Hardy versus Drew McIntyre versus Kane versus Big Show in the SmackDown Money in the Bank match. And this SmackDown Money in the Bank match was a whole lot better than I was expecting. And actually, this match got a lot of time. I would say it probably got at least close to 25 minutes, or at least it felt like it got at least 25 minutes. This is my WWE Money in the Bank 2010 pay-per-view review. The pay-per-view just went off there. I gotta say, for this pay-per-view, it was actually a pretty good pay-per-view outing from WWE. I'm not going to really put it in the category that it's a must-buy pay-per-view, or I would highly recommend it. But I would say it was a pretty enjoyable show from WWE. I would give it, you saw some good stuff with Christian and Kofi in here. Dolph Ziggler even did some good stuff in. Big Show, you know, for his role in this match, he did okay in here. And definitely had, I wouldn't say a surprising finish, but the finish of the match was pretty good because they made it seem like that Drew McIntyre was going to be the one